Good morning, everyone. We have an esteemed group of panelists here with us today. And before we get into specifics on the questions, I just wanted to give each of them an opportunity to explain their role beyond their title. So perhaps we can work on down the line. Perhaps we can skip you on this one, Lauriston, only just because you've had an opportunity to tell everyone that you're the man with $1.5 billion, so that's how they're going to remember you. But Kate, perhaps you can go next.
Sure, awesome. Nice to be here. Thank you again for having us. My name is Kate Dimsdale. I'm a telecoms policy specialist with the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, based in our Office of International Affairs, and my team is specifically focused on secure digital infrastructure. NTIA is the leading advisor to the Office of the President, essentially on all things ICT policy. We work both bilaterally and multilaterally with a lot of different stakeholders, including governments, academia, industry, you name it, we do it. And we're definitely very, very interested in supporting the kind of open network approach and open network architecture ecosystem of private sector partners and friends. So I'll stop there.
Perfect. Svetlana.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Svetlana Matt, and I'm Director for Public Policy at DISH. I lead our public policy work, and I'm based in Washington, D.C. DISH is a subsidiary of EchoStar Corporation, and our company is based right outside of Denver, Colorado, in the U.S. And we, as many of you know, built the world's first and largest Open RAN 5G standalone cloud-native network, which I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to chat more about today. And we are also a recipient of a significant grant that was part of NOFA 1, which we are standing up a testing and evaluation interoperability lab, which I'm also really eager to chat about during this panel. And prior to working at DISH, my work experience also includes working in Congress in the U.S. House of Representatives in D.C., and I was working for a senior member of the Communications and Technology Subcommittee when the legislation was being debated and passed to establish the Public Wireless Supply Chain Innovation Fund that Lauriston did such a good job explaining and walking us through, and that we got our grant from to set up the testing and evaluation lab. And so I'm really excited to be able to see that work come to fruition and to also be part of that right now and to be here today to speak further with you.
So you got the inside knowledge on both the government and the industry side of it. Jim, over to you.
Yes, I'm Jim Shea. I'm the CEO of DeepSig. DeepSig is a company applying AI to wireless. And what we do is we replace traditional algorithms with AI to get substantially improved performance. In Taiwan, we're partnered with HTC on a program. We're using RUs from WNC and Foxconn. And we really feel, Taiwan has a phenomenal capability of adding to the O-RAN ecosystem. As part of the first NOFO, we were one of the recipients, and we're developing technology that can be better used to model and test Open RAN type of systems. What we are now calling digital twin, I think a lot of people are referring it to. So we're pretty active in that. We also have another part of a business that involves in sensing, and we can detect and sense signals in the wireless environment very rapidly. And we're beginning to work with commercial test equipment companies such as Ritsu to bring this to market also. And we feel for spectrum sharing, this type of technology is going to be key. Thank you very much for inviting me. We're really enjoying this conference so far.
Great to have you here, Jim. And CY.
Okay, my name is CY Fan. I'm from Pegatron. I'm responsible for Business Group 6 in Pegatron. By the way, that we should talk more. So thank you so much for inviting me here. And I think that Pegatron's journey for 5G probably back to 6-7 years ago. We start from the CPE products, and later on, 5 years ago, we decided to move in kind of the overall CUDU-RU development. It's kind of the long journey, and as a matter of fact, thanks for government and also company support, we pretty much work on quite some project in Taiwan, Southeast Asia, Japan, even some area in India. On the other hand, that we try to not just doing kind of the POC, this kind of projects, just like Tom mentioned. As a matter of fact, we're trying to extend the scope ourselves. So because of the Picatron, we have the kind of the global manufacturing footprint, and very much we focus on the smart factory vertical applications. So we are going to launch worldwide very first mega site in Indonesia. That's kind of the area over 80,000 square meters. It's a 5G-enabled smart factory. And also, during all this kind of the journey, company believe that with 5G and also AI and also edge computing will be kind of the important factors for next wave, that's digital transformation. So that's the 5G. AI, it's 5G. We talk about the 10 years. It's AI is right now it's rising at this moment, and the edge computing definitely kind of wave. So it seems as everything is ready right here. So we truly believe it's a kind of the killer application might be digital transformation itself, because we're trying to increase the security, increase the efficiency, and also kind of the, I would say, we also foresee kind of digital twin will be a very, very attractive to make sure that smart factory vertical application to trigger to make all the manufacturing data alive. So that's a kind of the target. So I think today we hope we can share. I also represent Taiwan's all the company. We believe we are very interested in working with U.S. Carriers and also with the U.S. government, especially NOFO 2. So we hope get some money. Okay, anyway, that we hope we can contribute more, because the kind of communication it need people to commit to follow on. Okay, thank you.
Lariston, you're going to be the most popular man in town this week, I think. Okay, thanks everyone for those intros. I want to turn to our government colleagues first. So Lariston, I think you did a great job of kind of walking us through what is covered in each of the NOFOs. I wonder if you could talk us through the why, the sort of rationale behind the things that you chose, and some of the goals of what you hope to see out of it. And Kate, there's also a lot of work being done on the global engagement side of things, right? People tend to gravitate towards the financial aspects of things because, well, it's money. It gets us all interested, right? But there's a huge amount of work that gets done on a bilateral or multilateral basis that also is driving forward opportunities within the Open RAN space. So I wonder if we go Lariston, and then perhaps Kate, you can talk to some of the global engagement.
Okay, well, let's understand something, and here I'm going to speak more of the North American market at the moment. Let's understand something. There are no new mobile subscribers. Everybody's got a mobile phone. So if I am a carrier, the only way I get a new subscriber is to steal them from somebody else. So that means customer experience is the most important thing in their networks, period. So that leads us down the path of the devil I know is much better than the devil I don't know, because I know how this system works that I'm buying from somebody now. So to get them over the hurdle, to be willing to say, no, I'll go to a more diverse supply chain, there's several things that need to happen, and all of them are about risk reduction. So in that process, we first have to address any technical concerns. And that's where we have focused as far as innovation fund goes, because we're not going to spend billions of dollars to underwrite a deployment. So we looked at the market, brought in a lot of people, had a lot of talking sessions, and asked the industry, what are the problems you have with Open RAN? What are the challenges you see? The first one was testing and performance testing and interoperability testing. That's why we addressed it the way we did with the laboratories that we funded, as well as the other work we funded down the road. The next step is what's the next piece in the process? What's the easiest thing for someone to deploy into their network? It's a radio, and it's also the largest part of the network. So when you look at what's out there, whether it's a CU, DU, or RU, whether it's hardware or software in the process, what are the things that need to be addressed? And we chose to address challenges that the market sees with open RUs. Whether those challenges are real or not, perception becomes reality. So in the process, we've said now, we need you, the industry, to move forward to being able to present a product to the carriers that they would be willing to consider in their next deployments. So that's why we chose what we did. Right on the heels of that will be the software side that certainly Dr. Rondeau talked about in the software-defined network as we're moving to that. But it's always been in response to what we saw as a risk reduction for deployment of Open RAN, especially in the short term being a couple of years. That's why you see in NOFO 2, SRFA 1 has a 24-month period of performance, because that's what we're trying to get to. So in our activity, what we're trying to do is promote open, interoperable, and secure networks, and doing that by reducing the risk whenever possible for the carriers to accept that product.
And when we're talking about reducing risk, you're also talking there, I presume, about the perceived risk as much as anything else, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's always the case is I will use the old adage from a long time ago in my career, you never got fired for buying from IBM. Okay, so the process is, how do I be comfortable with the new vendors in the market? And that's what we're trying to help them do.
Kate, over to you on the global engagement side.
Sure, yeah. I think you're right, Alex. Most people care about money. Makes sense. But with the Public Wireless Supply Chain Innovation Fund, I think there are other money opportunities, just to briefly mention before I jump into the kind of multilateral sector, but I think the U.S. government has been trying very hard to support financing opportunities for this kind of area, and we have the Innovation Fund. We also have a State Department fund called ITSI, which I never remember what it stands for, International Technology, Security, and Innovation Fund.
Written down, right?
Yes, I did, because I never remember what it stands for. But that's another $500 million over 5 years. I think we also have a variety of different kind of funding opportunities for feasibility studies with our U.S. Trade and Development Agency. I think the FCC has an international visitors program, which I think is a really useful program for other regulators. Anyway, I think it's worth mentioning these other kind of financial tools that the U.S. government has in its toolbox. But I think definitely kind of going back to what Dr. Rondeau was saying about the consolidation of the market and trying to encourage small and medium enterprises to kind of get a foothold and get it back into the telecoms market. We're very much interested in working with our international partners, both governments and industry, academia, and there are a variety of different kind of multi-stakeholder, multilateral groups in which we work to kind of promote policies, regulations, as well as standards and specifications that would help encourage the proliferation of open network architectures more broadly. And some of those include like the Global Coalition on Telecommunications, which is a new grouping that's very much focused on telecommunications supplier diversity as well as future telecoms networks. And I think, you know, we also have groups like the Quad, like G7, and we're very, very much interested in kind of engaging in these arenas as we recognize that, you know, the U.S. can't do this alone to truly support international open RAN and open network architectures more broadly. It's an all hands on deck international effort that needs to be done globally.
That's a really important point, Kate, in terms of both on the financial side, right? I think we at ORPC have tracked 10, somewhere between 10 and 12 governments around the world have put pro-Open RAN policies in place at this point, and a lot of those do back it up with finances. So we're seeing more and more projects that are either jointly financed or the government of Australia might jump in with something, or so it's a lot of positive has come out of those engagements for sure. turning to our industry colleagues. So many of you are the recipients. In fact, I think all of you are recipients of either the NOFO funding or Taiwanese government awards. So I wonder if you can speak a little bit to what you hope comes out of those projects that have been financed from a short-term and long-term perspective, and how that's going to drive forward opportunities in the ecosystem. Svetlana, maybe we go to you first.
Sure, yeah, thank you. And we are very pleased to be a recipient of an award, a grant award from the first NOFO. So with that, we are standing up ORCID, which is the Open RAN Center for Integration and Deployment, which is a testing and evaluation lab for interoperability. And that's going to be in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We are going to be launching it very soon on July 15th. So our team is working, really hard to stand it up and to have it ready for July 15th. And this will be a testing and evaluation lab that is open to both vendors in the U.S. and vendors outside of the U.S., trusted vendors. So it has a strong international component too. And what's really cool about it is that it will not only enable vendors to test their component against, or to test their component to see how it works in an Open RAN ecosystem in the lab, but they'll also be able to do field testing against DISH's commercial grade 5G Open RAN cloud native network. So you really get to actually see how your component integrates into the network and how it performs. And it'll be a series of tests that are conducted. And I can speak more to the specifics of the process if folks are interested, or we talk about it one-on-one. But through this process, you're really able to test your component in a real environment and get results about how it performs. And we really hope that through that process, we can spur more vendors to be, to want to develop components for the Open RAN ecosystem, to share their learnings, to build a more vibrant and stronger Open RAN ecosystem, both domestically and globally. And we also really look forward to partnering with other labs in other countries as well. I think that will be a really important part of the building the international Open RAN ecosystem as well.
So for colleagues from the Taiwanese ecosystem, how do they get involved in that program? Do they swap business cards with you and follow up that way?
So we'll be launching on July 15th. Yes, please give me your business card. But on July 15th, we will be launching a web portal, where you will actually be able to go, and if you want to, you don't have to actually fly to the US to test your software or hardware. You don't have to go anywhere. You'll fill out a form and upload information regarding what you're looking to test. And there will be a series of questions to get more information about it, and then you'll get questions about whether or not you've worked with any vendors in our stack. For a vendor from Taiwan, there will also be a process from confirming with NTIA that this is a trusted vendor. And once that confirmation comes through, we'll move forward with the testing. It's a series of 4 tests, but we will do all of the testing in Cheyenne, Wyoming. You don't have to go anywhere. And you'll be able to follow the process and the results of each of the tests through the portal. And it's about a 6 to 8 week process. And then the results, you'll get a final report. It's not a certification lab, but if you are interested in doing any sort of publicity that you went through this process, we'd be happy to work with you on that and help promote it through the ORCID portal as well. And so we really are looking to get as many vendors involved in this. Like, the more vendors that are involved and that are able to participate, the stronger of an ecosystem that we'll have. So we just encourage everyone to get involved. And if you want more information about when we are going to be launching this and how to test your component, please follow up with me after this.
That's great that it's predominantly virtual opportunity.
Yes.
I imagine there's not a lot of direct flights from Taipei to Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Jim, over to you.
Very good. We received our NOFO 1 award, and what we're essentially doing is using AI to come up with better ways of modeling the wireless environment. You probably, those of you who are involved in 5G understand you use 3GPP models to test your systems, but when you take them in the real world, there's a lot of things that just can't be captured by those models. There's a big movement to go to pure digital twins where we synthesize every possible waveform and propagation environment, but that can take too much computation. So we found that by using AI, we can radically improve the speed and the fidelity of generating these models so that rather than having to do extensive field testing, you can generate most of these test results in a laboratory environment and have good confidence when you deploy your technology, your 5G system is going to work well. Now this is critical for ORAN because you're putting together all these different vendors' equipment, and you need to have a real high confidence it's going to work well without having to continuously go through these laboratory and these large field trials. So the one thing that has been great about NOFO One is it's giving us the opportunity to fund this technology, which as a small company, we're venture funded, we're very focused on deliverable results. This is letting us look a little bit further in the future. And quite honestly, it's given us phenomenal recognition in the industry. When we won this first award, we were a very small company, not well known. And through NTI, it's been a great way of educating people about what we're doing with AI and how AI can really transform not just the back end, the core network, but also the physical layer and how you implement that and how you can improve things. We're looking forward to NOFO 2. We have not really done much in the RU, and we've been approached by major RU vendors, companies that tens of billions of dollars of revenue that now are interested in this AI technology, and it's really opened the door to that and allowed them to see a path to finance this and bring that to market, which I think wouldn't happen otherwise. So I think NTI's done a great job. But we look at a lot of government opportunities to bid on programs, and many of them are all research focused. At the end of the day, all you do is generate a report. What's happening with these NTIA funding that we're getting is we're getting to do programs that we know are going to lead to products that will enter the market in the short term and really can help have an impact on 5G and 6G technology.
Yeah, I think DeepSig's a great case study, right, of when we reduce barriers to entry into the industry, the kind of innovation that comes to the fore. And, somebody who's worked on this for a number of years now, there's always a little bit of concern when you talk about it too early and then you're sitting there as like, let's hope it comes through. I think DeepSig's a great example of that happening.
Well, thank you. And further, ORAN has been great because it's broken up the problem of building a base station into manageable sections that a small company like DeepSig can attack one small portion of that, have a software solution we then can provide to many, many different vendors. We're currently using FlexRAN from Intel, although we're not limited to that. And as you know, in Taiwan, FlexRAN has found widespread adoption. And I think that opens a large market for us as a company, and it allows vendors who aren't necessarily experts in this area to go get best-in-class technology.
Siwa, over to you.
I think that's, as a matter of fact, I think that's a NOFO 2. It's very meaningful and helpful for Taiwanese company. Because I think that I also represent the Taiwanese company to say that we probably well known for manufacturing, operation, all of this, and even probably is hardware developers. But pretty much we are not so on the stage for the system vendor. All right, so if the Taiwanese company want to really contribute for in this sphere, I think that kind of the go through NTIA's sponsor to have a joint NOFO 2 kind of program is definitely a great opportunity for Taiwanese company. So we are in. So I think that this kind of opportunity offers the kind of the channel to let the kind of the leading country, U.S., to recognize Taiwanese company. We do have the capability to follow kind of the open spec and to come up system-wide solution, and even you could say kind of the end-to-end solution. So that's as a matter of fact, that's for past so many years, internally or externally, it's a kind of very struggling. Is that this kind of the system end-to-end solution required a lot of the cooperation. I mean, for example, that's back to 3 or 4 years ago when we do testing. To verify our CUDU products, RU products, that there is something bumping with the UE devices. At that time, we haven't decided to combine all of this together. So internally, the other team responsible for the UE, they probably don't know what happened to you guys, and they don't know how to support. And if you go through kind of external support, that's become worse. It's a kind of the disaster, because you need to talk to them so much, and unfortunately, because of the company issues and also technology issues, budget issues, everything, it becomes very difficult to cooperate. So at the end, it's Pegatron. I believe some company in Taiwan also doing the same thing, and we kind of combine our own UE device together. We combine our switch products together. We combine our server product together. So at the end, it's the very beginning, we work on the CU-DU and become the CU-DU-RU and become the CU-DU-RU UE and become the CU-DU-RU switch and become at the end with the server together. So it's a kind of the, even our internal is kind of a journey. But all of this, I would say kind of the Novo 2 will be a great opportunity for us to get recognized, and really we have the chance to really work on the US the carrier environment deeply. I mean, it's really go to a deep, because a long time ago, for a long period of time, for past 20 years, we deliver products, go through our customers, then to operators. Or we deliver something to operator directly. But that's a kind of the purchasing process. But this time, it's really something different. We probably nothing at this moment, but we believe that, again, represent Taiwanese companies say that we will be something in the future. So I believe this is a great opportunity for us, and for all this journey, especially that Taiwan government help us a lot and offer some subsidy projects to help us to bring up the products, everything. And I think it's a great chance for us.
So go slightly off script here. Only took 25 minutes. We're going to go off script. I had a follow-up on that, because clearly you're very up to speed on the NOFOs, right? Is that something that you think is common amongst your peers within the Taiwanese ecosystem? And how are you finding things like that out? Is it eTree's kind of sharing information with you? Is it stuff you read about in the press? I think from our standpoint and USG standpoint, it's interesting to know, like, how do we reach that global ecosystem?
As a matter of fact, it's in the past few years, it's goes through government's help. It goes through this, a lot of, Taiwan's not big. People talk to each other, so that's a good thing. And I think we got the chance to understand all of this. But very speaking, as a matter of fact, Taiwan government is doing kind of lots of the small-scale novel project. That's a kind of practice for us. That's for example, that's a 1.5 billion. That's a kind of the incredible numbers, amount of money. But in Taiwan, the government all the time support kind of the, a few 10, 20, 30 million NT dollars. That's very helpful. That's very helpful, because it's sometimes you support the right time better than support in big amount of money. So that's I truly believe that it's a workable, it's a very practical in Taiwan environment, and I think that's what I'm coming.
Excellent. Turning back to Kate and Lauriston, how are you expecting folks in industry to sort of leverage the resources to speed up Open RAN adoption?
I'll go first now. Okay. One thing, I'm going to go off script again for just
Please.
a minute. What we've been talking about so far is the macro market, okay? But I do want to reach out in that DoD, by example, through both what the Future G program is doing and the cross-functional team, they're focused on the private market, okay? So when we look at Open RAN, those are two different markets. Certainly the macro market, huge, and a lot of RUs in the process, but that's a couple of years away. So if we look at, or less, depending on where you are in the carriers in the buying cycle. But the private market is another area where the private enterprise campus, whatever we want to call that market, is a very viable area now for Open RAN products. And that's certainly the area that Dr. Rondeau and then the cross-functional have been supporting. So don't lose sight of that in the process, because that's another piece of the government areas that have been doing it. So now, what do we want to have done? We want the very simple answer is close the gaps, if there are any, whether they're real or perceived, in the product availability to the global carriers. That's what we expect to happen, and hopefully we've done a good job of our gap analysis and good job of speaking with carriers, and this is not just U.S. carriers, but globally, to understand what needs to happen for them to consider this for their refresh cycle. We're not addressing business issues. That's a completely separate discussion. Here we're addressing those technology issues that cause everybody pause, whether they're real or perceived. So that's what we would love to see happen in this process, is to get to that point. That's why we're doing what we're doing first with the test labs, to be able to demonstrate this interoperability across the entire end-to-end chain, but then with the products that they would be able to sell into that market.
And then it's obviously a 10-year cycle, right? Are there specific points along the way? Obviously, you're not going to put this out publicly and set a benchmark to measure yourself against, but are there things you personally are looking at along the way as kind of milestones that'll give you a sense of, are we achieving it? Do we need to pivot slightly? Do we need to scale up here and scale down there?
I'll step away from speaking for the Innovation Fund and now speak just an industry view of the process. I think the industry is going to say exactly what I've been saying, that did people buy product in the next refresh cycle? Did they see this as a viable product in the thing? And then is that moving ahead and dealing with new use cases, such as machine type communications? Have I found a way through Open RAN to new revenue streams that really haven't been available to me by the way I've deployed 5G? So I think those are points that say Open RAN has delivered something new to this process, and I should really get on that bandwagon.
Kate.
Yeah, and I think maybe from a policy perspective, a macro perspective, if you will, I think there is certainly a role for governments to play, right, in this space where whether it's coordination on international standards and international standards bodies, or kind of via frameworks like the 2021 PROG proposals for telecommunications supplier diversity, not to be confused with the 2019 PROG proposals focused primarily on cybersecurity.
Many people make that mistake.
Yes, they do. But I think certainly, like, organizing around frameworks, governments have a role to play. Obviously, governments also have a role to play when it comes to providing financial resources, such as the Innovation Fund and the kind of cash I mentioned available via the government in my earlier remarks. But I think another kind of area in which industry can leverage, what the government is already doing, what governments are already doing in this space, is through kind of symposiums, perhaps, or convenings. And the NTIA is coordinating a international Open RAN symposium this fall. It'll be in Boulder, Colorado, September 17th to the 19th. And I think hopefully we'll be seeing ITRI there, as well as a couple of other Taiwanese companies, as well as international kind of players. And I think at events such as these is where a lot of the work kind of gets done, and a lot of the kind of relationships are built. And so I think that's a way that kind of industry can leverage the resources available from governments.
And do we ask you for an invite to that?
Sure, yeah, you can reach out to me. Happy to be the connection there.
Awesome. So turning back to the industry folks on the panel, talk us through how you're utilizing these funding opportunities to sort of grow international partnerships and, I guess, embody that global ecosystem view that we have.
Sure. So I think, as I mentioned kind of in our overview, the overview of ORCID, there, I think, we see two critical opportunities for international partners as both really participating in ORCID, testing their components for ORAN against our network, really, really taking advantage of this opportunity. We're using the grant funding, so there's no cost. If you want additional testing and additional consulting, there's some of the advanced kind of features for testing, then there might be a cost there. But I mean, we really, really want this to be fully utilized because we believe that the more international partners that participate, the stronger the Open RAN ecosystem will be. And then we're also really eager to work with other labs globally, other testing labs. So ORCID will be for TRL 7 and above. It's, as I mentioned, it's tested against our commercial grade network, live network. So, we're really testing components that are ready to be deployed today. But then other labs will be testing components for 3 to 6, for example, for TRL 3 to 6. And so, one of the ways that we potentially see partnering with other labs globally is perhaps when a component is tested in a certain lab, and then when it's more advanced in its development, to take it to ORCID. But we're also open for other ideas for how we might be able to partner. I'm really looking forward to taking advantage of the symposium that NTIA is hosting to help brainstorm that more. But we really, really see the ORCID lab as, an opportunity to help grow this international Open RAN ecosystem, to make it more robust so that we can have a more diverse, resilient supply chain and really help promote openness and interoperability in the ecosystem.
So, we view DeepSig as a software components company, and our goal is to find partners that can take our AI-based software components and build it into their systems. So that's our business model. Business model has been very successful with some Taiwanese companies. We're in the Vietnam market working with Viettel on their deployments. And we see the NOFO funding that programs that we're getting is generating additional software components for what we're doing under the NOFO 1 is for the test and measurement market. We have multiple discussions with test and measurement companies that can incorporate that. And we really see this, as trying to take on a manageable portion of the market. We then can use partners to leverage. And we see Taiwanese companies as, ideal companies to work with to leverage this technology and bring it to market. So NOFO 1's been great. NOFO 2, we hope we're going to win an award there. It's very, very competitive. But we're already talking to many international partners about RUs and how we can make their RUs work better. And we just see there's this great convergence of Open RAN that's open markets, I think, to a lot of Taiwanese companies, open it to a small company like DeepSig, together with the funding that's kind of giving us that jet fuel to propel us very rapidly in this market space. I've been in this market for quite a few years, and the key thing is to get on the learning curve as quickly as possible with the new technology and ride it quickly so you can get to volume manufacturing. 5G, we're probably a little late on that. I think ORAN we're getting on the second wave, as Lauriston mentioned, but I think it's setting us up for 6G for a large ORAN component. Hopefully, I think ORAN's going to dominate 6G. You even see the incumbent vendors now, after much reticence, are now signing on to ORAN. Whether it's really ORAN, you can debate. They're doing their own twist to it. But I think through doing a lot of this openness that NTI is kind of forcing through their funding, we're going to be able to have very interoperable products and really get to this true open network that we're seeking to both reduce the cost and open new markets. Because as Lauriston said again, is we need to generate new markets to generate higher revenue in this space. We just can't do the same thing over and over. And I just see the funding opportunities and international outreach as being critical to this.
And you're obviously partnering with a lot of companies from different parts of the world. When you think of kind of the hubs of where we're seeing exciting Open RAN offerings coming out of, is Taiwan, from a global perspective, quite high on that list?
Yeah, we're seeing Taiwan, personally, we're seeing that Taiwan is being very influential in the private 5G market. Industrial use, we're getting a lot of interest from people to go there. I think what you want to do, that you want to grow to the MNO market, because that's where the high volume is. And that's the opportunity we've gotten with our Vietnamese partners. We're going to be deploying at scale in an operating network. And the key thing with AI is data. And by doing these deployments, we're getting a lot of data to do better training. And as we do more training, our performance improves. So we see that's been an excellent hub too. But Taiwan certainly, when you look at the RU manufacturing, we have two private 5G networks set up in our lab. They're both using Taiwanese RUs, and we just think Taiwan's been a real innovator in this space.
CY.
Okay, just I say that Novo 2 is a great opportunity for us. A company like Pegatron, we have very, I would say, kind of a strong global footprint, and we have 16 operation sites worldwide. It's different, including US. So we have team, resources, facility there. I think we pretty much ready, just need opportunity. Okay, so I think there's some company here, so also the same situation. So we hope this opportunity really can make our expectation come true, and we can really jump on the stage to really into the refreshment cycle, even it's 10 years. Okay, so I think that's very simple, but also because of this opportunity, I think that we have the great opportunity to expand our eco partners that's in US, like the DeepSeek, that again, we can talk a lot. And because of this, as a matter of fact, as Pegatron, internally we decide to start a new engineering center in south area of Taiwan. And one of the major topic is focus on the 5G plus AI. And so that's the something we really believe that we can work on. And with this opportunity, we can make things happen. And again, I think that's a lot of people mention about Taiwanese company. And you should also know that a Taiwan company can make things cheaper. So we will make that happen, make that could be kind of the mass deployable in the mass market. So
better and cheaper is always a good pitch.
Yeah. Definitely.
One of the things I wanted to add there, just one of the other hats I wear is with ITS, and during the 5G challenge, we had 2 years, and just want to be clear that Taiwanese companies were well represented in the applications and the performance during those testing. So in my view, it's certainly an area that is in many ways leading in Open RAN in the process, whether it be private network or moving into the macro network. So it's definitely an area that deserves attention.
Yep. Also, one thing I would like to share is that indeed, right now there's lots of labs doing the interoperability testing, everything. But when we work on lots of the real commercial sites, and we found that also application layer also need kind of the interoperability, or I would say kind of the verification. So in the same location, south area of Taiwan, we set up pretty big smart factory vertical application emulation field, and to work with our partners and welcome our eco partners to test their application. And also we set up kind of the AI center layer so they can have a sufficient computation power with the right emulation field to test their application. To make sure that at least I think once they get approved for the products spec, open spec itself, then we can kind of verify their application at the same time. So that's what we are working on right now.
You bring up a very good point. Now the real nerd in me is going to come out for just a moment. Is remember that with 5G and moving further, we're watching telecom become IT. All right, that's a very, very different world from the telecom world that we all that I've been in for 35 years. And so one of those issues is how to create that fabric that underlies the whole network, that fabric of interoperability, that application fabric, all that stuff that's not been in telecom before now. And certainly, you know, Tom and others are talking about the software-defined network. So when we look at that, that's an area that we aren't addressing presently in the Innovation Fund. We may, but it's an area that you have to look at. Certainly, Marvin Air can talk to the integration side and how to create that fabric in the process. So it's just something to consider as you're looking into that. What is the underlying fabric that you're providing to the vendors to integrate your product into? That's my nerd talk.
We love nerd talk. Okay, so we're at that time in the program. We're getting towards the end of our panel, and it's time to start gazing into the future. They always say never make predictions publicly like this, but we're going to ask you to make give us a sense of where we're headed in the future. So from each of our panelists, I'd be interested to hear from the perspective of your organization, what is kind of the big thing in your plans at the moment for the year ahead? And where do you see an opportunity for US and Taiwanese ecosystem, or perhaps US and Taiwanese government partners, to partner up over the next year? Do you want to kick us off?
Oh, I'm going to start, okay.
Please.
So I go back to DC next week and start working on NOFO 3. So that's on my list. That's on my list. So if we look at the Innovation Fund over the next year, we certainly look very much forward to the standing up of the three labs that we've discussed, whether it be Dish or Viavi or the AT&T, Verizon, et cetera, consortium in the process. So we expect those to be stood up and running and presenting results in the process. We will, at some point, be awarding NOFO 2, which is going to be a big deal, in my opinion, and in the view of the Innovation Fund. It is one of those significant steps forward, and that's why it's got almost 3 times as much money associated with it. So we really want to see where that's going, where the partnerships exist, and how we can move that forward. That's the next year, and of course, at some point in that year, we will be releasing a NOFO 3, which will be addressing that sort of software side of the equation. That's our next year.
Is there anything public about timelines for NOFO 2 awards and NOFO 3 to come out? If there's not, I'm not going to ask you to say it publicly, but...
The answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in the next year, I expect to continue to leverage ongoing multilateral engagements, as well as kind of working with Taiwan in the fall at a variety of different events that will be going on, including the International Open RAN Symposium, but there are a ton, as we all know, in the telecom sector going on in the fall. So leveraging both existing resources like the Innovation Fund, as well as the other resources I mentioned from the US government, as well as kind of leveraging what we're doing already with Taiwan. But hopefully, we'll be able to kind of form new partnerships to continue to talk about research and development, testing and evaluation, all the good stuff, maybe even including standards. So continuing the conversations, I think, is what I'm hoping to do in the next year. And hopefully we'll see some additional funds coming through as well.
And it's probably worth mentioning that, I mean, Taiwanese companies, at least through ORPC, but they are plugged into some of those initiatives, right? Or certainly can be, whether it's GCOT or the Quad, for instance. And even though the Taiwanese government's not formally a part of either of those two groupings, I think it's fair to say, at least in the Quad context, we view this as kind of an Indo-Pacific-wide initiative, right? And in terms of getting out some of those best practices and spreading the good word of Open RAN, I presume there's a role for Taiwan to play in sort of engagement with partners in ASEAN or the Pacific Islands. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's certainly a role to be played in those groupings that you mentioned, like GCOT or the Quad. I think even like with our engagement with industry, like NTT's OREX, I think there's a Taiwanese company included in the kind of OREX solution, which is the kind of end-to-end interoperability of an Open RAN network, which I think it's HTC actually. But I think, yes, there's plenty of opportunity for Taiwan to kind of engage with us in these groupings, as well as in our kind of conversations and work with industry to try to move the needle on more brownfield deployments in particular.
Sorry, second follow-up. I think in the trilateral, there was a Japan, Philippines, US trilateral, and there was some Taiwanese support for one of the initiatives in there. I don't think I'm crazy. I'm sure I read that somewhere. We'll follow up and check
question.
on that. Okay.
Yes.
I may be crazy and wrong on that one, but I don't know. I have a memory of it. There was funding somewhere, and it was attached to Open RAN, and it said Taiwan.
Definitely could be.
All right.
I'll follow
We'll
up.
do a follow-up and see if I'm crazy or not. Svetlana.
Yeah, thank you. So I think a few things. First, we work with many vendor partners to supply our network, and we are eager to continue building those partnerships and furthering, to develop those. Secondly, as I noted, we have built the world's first and largest cloud-native 5G Open RAN network that we're really proud of. Currently in the US, we cover more than 246 million Americans with more than 20,000 towers deployed. We're also looking to, and so we're really proud of the success in the US in building this network. We stood it up in less than 3 years during a global pandemic with lots of personnel challenges during that time. Constructing anything is really challenging when you're working during a global pandemic, and we were really proud that we were able to do this because of Open RAN during that time. But anyways, so I think that we are very eager to take our learnings and think about how we can share that expertise globally with MNOs and vendors in other countries, having the experience that we've had as a systems integrator. So we're also really interested in international opportunities more broadly in thinking about how to leverage our experience working with government and working with industry on that front. And thirdly, we believe that our network is also really well positioned, I think, to seize on a lot of the AI opportunities that are coming down the pipe with the technologies that we're seeing develop today and the upgradability features of our network. And so I think that that's an area where we're hoping to think about how we can leverage our network to also seize on those capabilities down the road.
Jim.
So we see Open RAN and the relationships with many of our foreign partners is just increasing the velocity of technology development. Right now, I think the perception is that the major OEMs have equipment that probably performs better than O-RAN, and through our AI technology, we want to flip that. We want it to be that AI and new technologies are going to make O-RAN higher performance than traditional technology. When we started DeepSig 7 years ago, and people just scoffed at us applying AI in wireless systems, and now it's become kind of standard. We actually talked, before there was O-RAN, we were pitching all the major OEM equipment, and they said, we've looked at the AI, we don't see any value in it. And now they're all on board. We're with them at 3GPP, working on how AI is going to evolve 5G advanced and 6G. So we just see the velocity increasing, and we think, as we mentioned before by Loris and other people, it's becoming more of an IT issue. We can upgrade this software now. We don't have to go change hardware all the time now. And we're going to be able to evolve much faster than the traditional equipment providers. And I think this is the golden opportunity. O-RAN has its ups and downs, but we got to keep forcing it. The U.S. government and other people have tried to help it grow, and I think it's really getting to the adolescent stage now and entering maturity where it's going to be the way you want to move forward and the way networks are going to be implemented in the future.
You were AIing before AI was cool.
That's exactly right.
Okay, I think the Spectron's company fully commit for the 5G O-RAN. It will be very, very pity if 5G cannot be successful. But anyway, that I cannot imagine that if in the next wave, a company or people wanted to work on the 6G, and it's very unbelievable if they do not have the experience for 5G. so we fully commit that next communication, next generation communication, and just like company, we have the kind of the faith for AI, for edge computing, and we truly believe that we can make things happen based on all three technology. All of this technology definitely needs something else. So I think that we continue to expand our experience for the commercial sites, and we continuously expand our eco partners, and we continuously set up our internal facility. For example, that's our extent. We have the new engineering facility in south area of Taiwan, and so I think that go through all this efforts, we truly believe someday will pay back. So probably not 1 year. I hope to at least the end of this year, next year. So I think that we commit on this, and so we're looking forward to work with the tier 1 customers like Dish to grab opportunity for the Nova 2. So that's definitely our chance. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm going to close out with one of my own, which is that the Open RAN Policy Coalition is working with the Quad governments at the moment on an Open RAN for ASEAN paper, which the concept behind it is what are the things that governments in ASEAN can do to support the Open RAN revolution and help to drive this forward. And I think ASEAN is a region with just enormous potential in this space. I'm thrilled that we have so many Taiwanese members now at ORPC, which I think it's our 3rd largest country in terms of membership now, which is fantastic. So we'll have a number of Taiwanese companies working with us along that journey. And obviously, given proximity geographically and the reputation of Taiwanese companies the world over, I think that will stimulate a huge amount of opportunities for partnership in the year ahead. So I remain optimistic, and for the time being, please give our panelists a round of applause.
Thank you very much to Mr. Boding for moderating the session for us, and thank you to all our panelists. We invite you to take a group photo on the stage to remember this panel. Okay, so everyone, please look into the camera in the center together. Beautiful, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our panel once again a warm round of applause. Thank you for their engaging discussion.